Hey everybody, this is Josh with Hardball Unlimited. This is the second episode of Coffee with Coaches, and I'm sitting here with the Hardball Unlimited Youth Development Coach and the Junior Varsity Coach at South Central, Chris Gregg.
Howdy.
Chris,
thanks for being on here.
Yeah, glad to have you.
For sure.
Now I know you got a lot of you played baseball, and give me a little bit about your playing days and what kind of got you interested in the coaching.
I played 4 sports: football, baseball, basketball, track. So I came out as a football coach right out of high school, jumped in that bandwagon, going to college. It's kind of hard to do both. But all summer long, my whole life, I spent at the ball field. My sister was a really good softball player, and I played baseball. We traveled all around for her playing softball, so I spent almost every weekend of my young life at a ball field.
Right. So what kind of made you go, hey, let's do some softball?
Well, I've said this multiple times. I don't believe there's a more fun sport in the world than baseball or softball. Like, football was always business to me. Softball and baseball is just fun. Like, the camaraderie you can have in the sport and everything else around it, it's the most enjoyable sport in the world for me to coach and or play. So you obviously did some camps and you've done one-on-one coaching as far as softball. So what kind of made you go, hey, when you got the call, I'm going to be a high school coach? What kind of went into as a mindset? Well, I've always been extremely competitive. I love to compete. And when you get older, the competition kind of disappears. Coaching youth and fall, you get a little bit of it there. But once you get to high school level, JV, high school, it's real competition. Then obviously you want to test yourself and try to compete at a high level.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I agree. You, again, like I said, you've had a travel background. You went to a lot of travel ball games with your sister. What's been the biggest difference for you for seeing travel ball and coaching some travel ball to now coaching high school?
Well, and I think the biggest thing, I know Chad talked about time a lot in the last episode, and you go from time with high school players to compared to time you get with travel teams that might meet once every 2 weeks and stuff like that. You can really change things. Hopefully, you're hoping when you get a travel ball player that they're already there and you're just polishing. Right. This one, you really get to dive in and fix things and coach things and teach things the way you want to teach them. Compared to a travel ball player, you're getting what you get and you don't really have much. You can't change much. Right. Not with the time you get or with what parents want and everything else. Right. The ability to shape what you want in a player with at high school level, it's much different than at travel ball level.
It's different because travel ball, really you get to hand pick almost your team. Yeah. So you already know what you're going into.
Yeah, you know what you're going to get.
Right. Compared to here's a freshman I've never seen before, or maybe a kid that just decided to come out that year. Yeah. For softball. Yeah.
You don't get those the gems. Right. The gems you don't see. Yeah. You got a girl who's maybe played 2 years of softball, but she has a lot of potential. Now you got to find that potential. You coaching travel ball, you already got the potential.
Right. Yeah, totally agree. I've worked some camps with you. We've worked some infield camps before. What's one of the hardest things when you get 25 kids at a camp that are all coming for the infield drill? How do you keep everybody engaged and keep it fun?
Oh, I think it has a lot to do with what age you're working with. Right. The younger you get, the more fun it has to be, or you lose them quickly. The older you get, you can take things more seriously. It can become fun because it's competitive. But if you're coaching young, you got to find ways to keep it fun light. The older you get, you can get fun serious. Hey, she fielded that ball, you did. You can get more serious with it. But that's the key. You just got to keep things fun. If they're not having fun or they're not. I like fun that is competitive. I think that's the best way to be successful. You can have fun and not learn anything.
Right. Oh, yeah, I agree.
Or you can have fun and be getting better at the same time. Yeah. And I think the key is finding a way to make sure you're having fun while everybody's getting better at the same time.
Now, you've coached the hardball 10U team. You've coached the hardball 12U team. And, you're diving in right now. You've also coached them with South Central, the middle school kids. What has been your biggest struggle going through maybe some of that?
I mean, obviously being a new guy, it's always tough. I hate to garner back to Chad again, but like time is a big issue. Like I remember coming in after we first talked and like having ideas and things I want to do, and like it's hard to accomplish everything you want to do. It really is. Like time is your worst enemy, and it's really you have goals and things you want to do, and it's just like now I need to reassess. I think the biggest thing I've like found is you need to reassess almost every week.
Yeah.
Because like your goal where I want this player to be at this point is no longer realistic now.
Right.
Now you got to find what is realistic.
Yeah.
I think time and obviously getting to know, like being your first year, you don't understand how you can coach each player yet either. You got girls that you've never met before, and you have girls that you can talk to differently than other girls and stuff like that. That's a big learning process as well.
Yeah, I know one of the things I think was hardest for me when I started at Crestview, I kind of ran the open gyms by myself, and you've got these 6 drills. We're gonna go through these 6 drills. We're gonna get it done, and we get in that first drill, and it's 45 minutes, and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get the rest of this in on top of hitting and fielding. So yeah, I definitely agree.
Well, especially if you want to do things right. Like let's say that first drill, it just goes horribly. Like understanding, okay, maybe this is a drill I just need to leave, right. Or maybe this is a drill we really need to pound home. You got that's a fine line. You got to figure are you gonna stick with this one and may take the rest of your practice? Or is this a drill that maybe this isn't realistic for him yet? I need to move on.
Right. Oh yeah, totally agree. Again, even though it's been a young career so far, have you had that moment that really sticks out of your mind as something that either was very enjoyable or maybe a kid's success that maybe you'll always remember?
Well, that's a hard one for me. I'll actually garner back past softball. I'll go all the way back to coaching football. I had a kid, undersized, not terribly athletic, but the hardest working kid I've ever known. Like, he was the kid that it didn't matter if it was week 10, last play he's ever going to play, or the first day of pre-workout lifting, he gave you everything he had at all times. Like, if I literally said, go move that wall, he was gonna try.
Yeah.
And that's the kids I die to coach. The kids that love the grind and want to give everything they got all the time.
Yeah. A lot of times, and I know a lot of people say you don't want favorites, but a lot of times those kids end up being your favorite.
Well, it's hard. It's hard. Like, you have great talent, and great talent can get away with a lot more than bad talent. But you have those kids that work hard and are just as good as that great talent. That's the most rewarding thing,
right,
as a coach.
Right. Coaching now, what is the most important thing to you that you want to get across to your players?
Well, I'm big on preparation. I think preparation is the most important thing in all sports. As I said earlier, I really enjoy the grind, and in my mind, the ball field's second to me right now. I'm not even thinking about the ball, but I'm thinking about how we get to the field. We have to be physically ready. We got to be ready to hit. We got to be ready to field, and that all starts with preparation right now. Then you get preparation before games. When we're starting to prep for games, we're seeing great pitching. We're seeing great hitters, how we prepare and how we set ourselves up. I think preparation, like if you look at the greatest athletes of all time, the difference that made the biggest difference for them was the way they prepared. Ray Lewis prepared great. Brian Urlacher prepared great. Like, the ones that want to be great in anything prepare better than everybody else.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. When you're at your camps, and I guess how competitive do you want to make these camps?
As competitive as possible at all times. I thrive in competition. I think it's second to probably, as people would want you to say, love, the greatest feeling in the world.
Right.
Is competing. Like, I don't care if it's a 6-year-old and a 13-year-old, I want that 6-year-old to believe they can beat the 13-year-old. Because if they don't believe, they've already lost.
Right.
Like, that's the kind of competition I believe, like, every player should want to have, is I want to be the best on every play that I can possibly be. And sometimes it's not even competition against one another. You can compete against yourself. Like, hey, last year I wasn't very good. This year I want to make 10 out of 13 plays.
Right.
Like, that's the way I work in my mind, is I'm always setting a goal for everything I do. So, like, if I'm going into lift and my max was 205, my goal is to be 215. Like, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is, how am I going to be better than I was last time?
I guess to piggyback off that, how do you deal when you get these kids in these camps that's in this group, and you've got this kid that's an excellent athlete, and maybe a kid that's not as athletic and maybe struggles some things? How do you get that kid, to not be down and really still enjoy this camp and get better?
Well, and that's what we talked about earlier. You got to understand, understanding the players you have. So if you have a kid that doesn't handle competition well, you have to find ways to work on making him more competitive or her more competitive. So you have an extremely good talent in front of the talent that you see the gem, but they aren't there yet. Like, it's a fine line where you got to play like good guy, bad guy. Like, you want to push them, but you don't want to lose them.
Right.
So you just got to understand where that line is and where you need to go.
Yeah. And so, what is the most important thing that you believe in that would make a program successful?
Culture and preparation. I think preparation is a big part of culture. I believe that in outworking everybody. I think that's the best way to guarantee you're getting the most you can out of your high school career. If you come in, you work hard every day, and you give your very best, there's at the end of the day, if you lose or win, it doesn't matter. Like, you did everything you can.
Right.
That's my goal for every player, to want to come in, give their very best every day, and have no regrets. So building that culture around preparation, and hey, like, I worked as hard as I possibly could this offseason. What we get this season, I've earned.
Right. How do you prepare to take over a team that maybe hasn't had the culture that you want?
Oh, it's going to be a jolt, right? Like, the hard part is, like, right now we're in a point where we're not mandatory, so you haven't got to see everybody yet. Right. So you're seeing a few players here, a few players there. That the first day of mandatory is going to be a jolt. Like, things are going to be different, things are going to change, and especially, like, being a JV coach, I'm going to have a bunch of kids that have never played high school ball, and a few kids that were right there. You know what I mean? So it's not like I have a lot of players coming in that have been under the program before.
Right.
So it's going to be a complete culture shock for most of them. And you hope you come out of that thriving. That's obviously the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. What have you learned so far that's really stuck out in your mind? Maybe from another coach or anything?
So this is the coolest things. So, like, obviously he had Chad on last week, and you got Josh right here. Two people I coach with most. They're two completely different people. Same mindset, same goals, but completely different people in the way they do things. Like, Chad is very rambunctious. Like, he's gonna tell you exactly how he thinks and feels. Where Josh plays more things on the chest. Like, and being the head coach, he has to play like that more. But, like, learning how they deal with people and deal with things and what they can do and say and how they work are just totally different. But they, like, the hive mind mentality, they have the same goals and same ideas of what they want to achieve. They just work together because they do things differently. It works like a puzzle piece.
Right.
Like, it comes together. They aren't the same shape. They ain't like nothing. Like, it just works because, and no matter what, they have the same goal.
Right.
And, like, learning from both of them, you get little pieces of each.
Yeah.
Like, listening to Chad talk about hitting, and then listen to you talk about infielding and how catchers work and how the mindset should be back there, or Chad talking about one-on-one pitch and what your mindset is and what you're sitting on and stuff like that. Like, it's like a melting pot, like,
right,
adapting to everything I'm learning quickly and then making it my own.
I know when I got the call and said, they offered me the job, I know one of the things that ran in my head is I really don't want a coaching staff full of I need something different. And I need somebody to tell me, hey, that's not a good idea. And that's really what, one of the biggest things with Chad. He's not afraid to say, hey, this isn't going to work. I don't think this is going to work. Because sometimes, because we've all been there. We're all like, man, this is great. This is going to work. And it doesn't.
Well, I can say this as a fact. Like, in the 3 months now, we've had open or lifting and such. Like, we've had conversations where it's basically an argument, but being able to work together through that argument is the key.
Right.
Like, I'm not getting mad. Like, we both have the same goals to be the best softball team we can put on the field, our three of us. We want to have the best softball team on the field. Just because you disagree with me, I'm not going to get mad at you.
Right.
That's the key. Like, people don't understand that anymore. Like, we can yell, we can scream, we can do whatever we want.
As a JV coach, what is your main goal to accomplish through, getting these kids ready for the varsity level? Like, I was a JV coach for 8 years. My mindset is, here's how many seniors, here's where they play. I've got to replace. What's the one thing you want to accomplish?
Oh, as you said, like, look at what are you and Chad gonna need?
Right.
I need to find people to play that position. Like, when we struggle, it's usually due to the fact that we weren't prepared. As I said, I like to be prepared. Me being prepared for you guys is having people ready for you. So if we're losing third baseman and shortstop next year, I need to have people available for you to choose from.
Right.
What you think they can do. I can't just have, she played short, she didn't learn much, she's not ready.
Yeah.
I need to have them as close to ready as possible for you guys to be successful. Because that's what it all comes down to is, what are they, like, JV games, they're important, you want to win, but what's really important is that they're ready to win varsity games.
Yeah. Well, listen, I enjoyed you being on here. Really enjoyed the interview. I know when Chad and I watched you run the camp and stuff like that, you were able to keep everybody going. I really like some of the ideas, some of the agility drills. I think you're going to be real successful. We're glad that you're on. Just to wrap this up, coffee for coaches. What's the go-to coffee drink?
Oh, it's pumpkin spice all day.
Absolutely.
Pumpkin spice is the
Absolutely.
best. The best.
That's really why I hired you to bring me pumpkin spice.
That's a fact. A pumpkin spice latte, there's nothing better. I went 4 years to AU, and the day it came out to the day it stopped going out, I had one every day.
Listen, totally agree. Love it. My favorite. Chris, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
It's time to get to work, right?
It's time to get to work.
All right. That's Coffee with Coaches. Thanks for checking us out. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Until next time, go Trojans.